Okay, guys, I finally got some time to myself, I guess. So I figured I would get at least one of these reviews done, since I promised to do a bunch of them and haven't really had time to get to them between fishing and whatnot, which is pretty much what I do all day, every day. But here we have on the left here is the Daiwa TW SV, or SVTW, and the right here we have the Shimano Aldebaran 50. Both are very small. They're almost comparable in size. They're both great reels. They have pluses and minuses to them. These two are mine. They both have Hogtech handles. Everything I own has Hogtech. You'll hear me talk a lot about them. But other than that, these reels are the way you get them, other than the handles. The weight on, let's start with the Aldebaran, put this one aside. Aldebaran is just under 5 ounces. I think it's 4.6 or 4.7 ounces. This is their, she says 50 HG on it. This is their 7-speed, as most of us like to call it. This here is the 7.speed as well. They both pull in both the same amount of line. They're 29.5 inches per turn of the handle. I'm gonna make this short. I don't want to spend too much time going over stuff that you can find that a lot of other people have gone over, as far as the drag and all that other stuff. But I want to just talk a bit about the actual size of them, because I did a lot of research before getting into this Daiwa, and I palm my reels. And as in my last video I stated, because this reel I stuck with the Aldebaran because it's so small and because I palm my reels. As you can see, it's so much easier to get my hand. Obviously it's not on a rod, but to be able to get my hand on there. So if you palm your reels like I do, when I use this for jigging, for wacky rigs and stuff like that. So it's just much easier to, for me, to be able to grab hold of that and set the hook with this reel. With the Steez, it's a little bit more difficult because of the T-wing system. And as you see, the T-wing system just comes out. So if you're trying to palm this, if you look here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, that T-wing system's going to come right across, and it's going to grab your hand. And you're going to notice it. There's no way around it. So if you palm your reels like that, like I said, I think that the Aldebaran would be a better choice. If you're okay fishing with it with like this, which a lot of people do, either putting this finger down under the pole or putting it up here, like a lot of people do as well, this reel is going to be a much better choice. Price point, there's about 70, depending where you get it from. I deal with Tackle Warehouse Direct, so you're talking about a $70 difference, give or take. This is $420. This is $500, $499. Of course, then you add the handles and it adds to it. Again, going back to the weight, I mean, this is the Daiwa was 5.5. Like I said, this I believe is 4.7 ounces. They both pull in, like I said, 29.5. Let's look at the bottom of them. This is something else that also a lot of people don't look at. If you see right here, and if you look right here, you'll see that the placement of both of these reels are going to be different when they're on the poles. And it makes a difference because it's going to change the way that it sits in your hand. This one here is going to be more farther back, okay, than this one. This one's going to be it's going to be farther forward. Not by much, but it's going to be farther forward. And what it's going to do is it's going to move, depending again how you're going to hold it, it's going to move this finger farther, pushing farther back, or in this one farther forward with the trigger on the rod. So it may be create for a more uncomfortable feel when you're on the water. Now if you fish a little bit here, a little bit there, you may not notice it, but if you fish a lot like I do every day, all day, it tends to wear on you. Either of these reels, like I said, they're lightweight, so as far as fatiguing, I don't see that happening. The braking system, this has got the SV system in it, and this is a big deal between the two, and this I'm going to get into detail on. This has their, let me pop this open again. I don't want to spend too much time going over the same stuff that's already been said. Oh, look at that, this has been open the whole time. That's already been said. This has got their oil brake system. Okay, I've got 2 brakes on. These things are great, just like with my Metanium out of the box. They're phenomenal. What I had a problem with my Metaniums, and now I'm down to 1 Aldebaran and no Metaniums, because I've now returned or exchanged, we'll say, the my last Metanium, is that over time these the braking system on these, they wear down, and they don't cast as far as they did when you get them out of the box. The other biggest major problem is that, and this reel is not pertaining to this reel because this has the X chip, but it does not have the micro module gears in it. The micro module gears are a finer pitch gear, which does indeed make it smoother. I don't know if I want to say smoother, but you'll feel less of the gear mesh, even though there's more, but it's finer, so it's less of a feeling, if that makes sense. But what happens is, over time, and for somebody who's a weekend fisherman, it may take 8 months, depending on how much you fish over the weekend. You won't really notice it until you get 8-9 months into it. When you fish every single day, these gears, and this does not have the micro module, and this reel's about 3 weeks old to a month, and it's starting to get that feel. But those gears, they can't handle it. They can't handle everyday use. If you're a tournament fisherman, this is not a reel. A Metanium is not a reel to go with. They're great, they're smooth, but like I said, after time they just wear, and they just can't handle it. So with that being said, I started looking into another reel. Now all these reels, my reels are all brand new. They're less than 6 months old. This reel here is about 2 weeks, 3 weeks old when I switched over to the Daiwa. I was iffy on getting back into Daiwa because of the size. Now my original Daiwa that I had is a 103 HVA, which is about 25 to 30, yeah, probably about 25, 26 years old, give or take. The only reason why I don't use that anymore is because of the fact that the magnetic cast adjuster on the side, the actual clicker piece, the plastic inside, broke. So I'm on the search for one of those. If I ever find one, I will start using that again. But I was on the fence about going with this because I had the older style Steez, the 103 Steez, and they're beautiful reels and they're smooth, but they just were not comfortable in my hand. And again, why I was kind of iffy about going and getting into a Steez. But at the point I was at, with going through so many Shimanos, I've been with Shimano for, well, probably about 12 years now. Starting with their Core 50, and then the Chronarchs, the 50Es. So I've been with Shimano for a while. So when I got into the new Shimanos, I thought it was great, and then it just turned into a complete disappointment. But getting back to the Steez, I got into this reluctantly because of the fact that in the pictures this thing looks enormous. At least to my eyes, all the pictures I see, they just look huge. So when I pulled this out of the box, I was very surprised at the size of it. Everybody raves about this reel. I haven't heard anything negative. I'm sure there's negative. Everybody's got something to complain about. You know, there's always going to be that one person. But so I took it out of the box. I put on some Suffix 832 30-pound braid, and if you watch my last video, everything I own except for one rod has 30-pound Suffix on it. Yeah, so getting back to this, I put it on the rod and it felt comfortable. I was a little upset because, again, for my wacky rig with this T-wing system, it's just getting in the way. It's just not going to work. So I figured I'd use the Aldebaran for my wacky rigs and in Texas rigs and stuff like that. But that left an open option because then I have my crank rod and my traps. my top water, things like that. So I decided to start using this as my crank for my crankbaits, and it works. It worked out. So it took a little bit. I mean, there's no adjustment. This is a fixed. I mean, it moves, but it really doesn't. It's fixed. It doesn't come off. This doesn't come off. You can't screw it like on the Aldebaran. You can just unscrew it. The real only adjustment that you have is this, which is the cast control knob on the side. And at first, I got a couple casts in with this thing, and I was just not very impressed. I was free spooling it, or free spinning it, I should say, and it was loud. And I'm thinking that there's got to be something wrong with this. This isn't going to work out. Well, I put the line on it. I got out there. I put it on my my Bass Pro Shop Patriot rod. It was one of their limited edition rods, I guess, from what I can read. Medium heavy, 7 foot, and started dialing this thing in. And I'm going to tell you, this reel is just it's just something you have to experience. This thing is smooth, smooth as silk. It casts. I was throwing half-ounce traps into the wind yesterday. No adjustment whatsoever on the dial. I'm at 5 right now. No adjustments on this thing, and this thing was just chucking them right into the wind, and it was going. So as far as that goes, I mean, this reel, it really is something you have to experience. It really is something you have to experience. But chucking into the wind now, I throw all this on, and I've got my 1/4 ounce. I throw a 1/4 ounce, or yeah, I think it's a 1/4 ounce wacky rig, weighted wacky rig, and everything's fine with this. I use it the way I use it. I hit a little bit of wind, and I get so much overrun. Because what's happening is, for whatever reason, now, I mean, I can fix that by tightening this down, but when I tighten this down, I'm also losing casting distance. So it does hurt your, we'll quote unquote say, performance. But who wants to have to make adjustments according to the wind? If it's a little windy, you loosen it up. If a gust of wind comes while you're in the middle of a cast, guess what? You're going to get overrun, and a lot of it. It happens to me, maybe not you, I don't know. We all set our reels up differently. I have to assume I set mine up so they cast as far as they can. I fish from shore. So I need to make sure that I can get my line out there as far as I can. And I tell you, casting out in the middle of a lake, when you're standing next to a bunch of people, or fishing in a lake that people can't reach, it does make a difference. It truly does make a difference. But so as far as castability, this Steez is definitely going to take it. The Steez is smoother. Like I said, I've had this one. The Aldebaran's probably about a month older than the Steez. Both great reels, don't get me wrong. But as far as everyday usage and wear and tear and stability, if you can afford this, then you go with the Steez. The other thing is, and I'm not great at skipping, but I'm working on it, and I've been practicing with this skipping, and this thing is just not happy when it comes to skipping. It seems like as soon as the bait hits the water, the bait will stop and this spool will keep going. If I put the same setup on the Steez and skip, I can skip this thing like I know what I'm doing. I mean, I don't know whether it's because it's got the SV spool in it, which is the lightweight spool, which gives you the ability to cast lighter lures, or the way that, I mean, I can't explain it. But for this thing, for the life of me, I cannot cast. On the Aldebaran, I cannot skip worth a damn. With the Steez, I can skip like I know what I'm doing. Other than that, like I said, they're both great reels. They're both smooth as can be. T-wing system opposed to this system. This Aldebaran's dirty. I don't know if you can see on the camera, that's kind of got that ovaled out eye on it, and this has just got the T-wing system, like, you know, less resistance. Does that make a difference? I don't know. I don't know if that's why this Steez can cast as far as it does, or if there's something else, that technology that they have that I don't know. Yeah, they, like I said, they are just they're both good reels, but this Daiwa Steez is just leaps and bounds above. Let's see, what else can we talk about here. Let me pull the system off of this one here. I've never had this reel apart, so this will be a first. So you've got the braking hub. It's got all the writing on there, 16 pound, 40 to 80 meters, 14 pound. So, I mean, that's kind of nice that it tells you what kind of size line you can put on it. Sometimes you have to guess. At least with this, you don't have to. It's got the 1016 SV. It's a G1 spool, as you guys can hopefully see in the camera. I don't know if you're going to be able to see it with the lighting. Yeah, I mean, it just chucks them. It just absolutely chucks them. Let's see if I can get this back on there. It's just something that I cannot explain. Very simple, comes apart. The other biggest thing is, and again, I started another big thing is, I started to talk about it yesterday in the video I posted. With the amount of fishing that I do with these brakes on here, because you have to oil these brakes. Obviously, you got to put oil on the hub. Make sure the hub is oiled, because if it's dry, it will still cast, but it won't cast nearly as far, and eventually what's going to happen is you're going to start burning these little plastic pins out. Now on this reel you can replace these pins. These pop off. On the Metaniums, the SVS systems, they do not. On the new like even the Aldebaran 30 that's coming out, it's got the new braking system. They do not. So if they burn, they're a part of the spool. So you've got to keep these oiled, otherwise you lose a lot of castability. And as I was saying yesterday, you really, for somebody, if you're going out on a boat and you're planning to be out there for the day and cast, you better bring some oil with you, because these things are just, they're just not going to be able to you're going to start off the day casting for miles, and then after that it's just, at the end of the day, you're going to have this thing cranked open. I mean, right now I oiled this yesterday. I'm at 3 and I've got 2 brakes on and I'm throwing a quarter. So that's something else to think about. I'm just trying to think of any other points I might be able to bring up. Both these reels come in a 6.3 to 1, or yeah, I think it's 6.3, a 6 speed. Like I said, as far as line retrieval, they're both identical and half inch, give or take. One's a little bit wider. Let's see, let's go over this here and see if I can get these up here for you. Try to give you an idea of what size we're talking. I mean, they're really very, very close in size. The Steez is just a bit wider. You'll see this corner up here, which has got the dial in it, which makes it a little bit wider. 11 pounds of drag over here. I believe the Aldebaran is 10, which, you don't need it. You don't really need 11 pounds of drag if you're going to use this reel for bass fishing and stuff. I mean, I use my drag. A lot of guys don't. They crank it down and they leave it. I'm not that kind of guy. Yeah, so I guess that's about it. I was going to do unboxings on them, but again, it's a box. Paperwork. This one comes with a nice Daiwa Steez reel cover. This one does not. This one comes with an 80mm handle. That's something else. This comes with an 80mm handle. Absolutely big fail on Daiwa's part for putting an 80mm handle. It is teeny. I believe this one came with an 80mm as well. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this did have an 80mm on it. So I guess if you want to say a fail for Daiwa, it's a fail for both of them. I mean, I'm not a guy that likes the small handles. I like a bigger handle I can grab onto and really crank if I need to. But again, that's why I switch everything out to the Hogtech. This is their newer style. The nut stay on here. One other thing, guys, if you do go on Hogtech's website, they do not show that they make a handle for the Daiwa Steez TW, the SVTW. See if I can get that in there, or the A, because they are not a direct fit. You have to kind of do some we'll say adjustments here and there. So if you're watching this, then I'll tell you real quick. Take the handle off, the factory handle. There's going to be a small washer underneath here. Put that washer on there. Put the new handle on, okay? Now this isn't really a nut. This is more like a bolt. It's threaded in, whereas this is a nut that goes onto a shaft. The drive shaft on this is hollow. I don't know if you can see the silver right in the corners, as you might be able to see it. I don't know. Maybe not. There's silver under there. What you have to do is you have to put a washer in there, a small washer, to pick up this, a thin small washer to pick up the space difference, to connect, to keep it tight, because there's just a little bit of this way. When you put that washer on there, it'll pick up that slack, and then you can put this cap, the cover on it. Like I said, this is Hogtech's newer style one. If you order a handle from them and you want this style, I would suggest emailing them. You probably emailing Mike or Rob about information, and make sure that if they have them that they send you this. Otherwise, what you're going to get, it's going to look similar to this, but this is a two-piece. I don't know if you can see this. It's two-piece. It's actually the same cover, the stay as this, but just with a black nut. But they make it, the older styles look similar to this. They weren't a big hit, but those I don't think will work with this. So if you want to get in and do something like this, and you can feel free to email me and contact me, and I'll help you out the best I can to get you set up with them, with something like this. But yeah, if you're a big handle guy like I am, that's Hogtech's going to be where it's at. I don't think anybody makes a bigger handle than Hogtech. So, but all right, guys, that's it for now. I'm gonna. Hopefully this works out okay. The video's clear and you can understand and see everything, and I make sense. Bear with me. I'm trying to get my channel set up, so it's just taking a little bit longer than I had expected. But I hope you enjoyed the video and got something useful out of it. That's my main point, is to help and educate everybody. So if you got questions and stuff, feel free to contact me. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, guys.